You know how some moments in life seem so ordinary, yet they become the spark that lights up a storm. That's exactly how this whole mess started, with me standing on my back porch, spatula in hand, flipping burgers on a warm Saturday evening. The air smelled like charcoal and hickory wood. My wife had made potato salad. The grandkids were running around the yard with popsicles dripping down their fingers. It was one of those nights where everything felt simple, right, American. Then, like an unwanted mosquito buzzing around your ear, I heard it. The sound of high heels clicking down the sidewalk. Fast, sharp, deliberate Karen. Not just any Karen, but the president of our HOA. She marched right up to my fence and yelled, "That grill is against HOA regulations. Put it out immediately." Now, I'll be honest, I thought she was joking. I actually laughed. It's a barbecue. Karen, on my property. What are you gonna do? Call the fire department because I'm cooking ribs. Her face twisted like she'd bitten into a lemon. Section 12B clearly prohibits outdoor cooking appliances visible from the street. You're in violation. Violation for grilling in my own backyard. Folks, let me pause here and ask, what would you have done? Would you have argued right there, spatula in hand, or ignored her and kept flipping burgers? I chose the second option. I turned back to the sizzling grill and said, "Dinner's almost ready, kids." But Karen wasn't finished. She whipped out her phone, snapped pictures like some sort of paparazzi, and muttered about fines. That's when I realized this wasn't going to blow over. The next morning, I found a bright yellow notice taped to my front door. Bold letters screamed, "Notice of violation, illegal outdoor cooking device. Fine, $500. My blood boiled hotter than my grill. At first, I thought maybe it was a mistake. Surely no sane organization could fine a man for grilling burgers on his own property. But when I called the HOA office, the manager's tone was colder than an icebox. "Sir, your barbecue is not permitted under community guidelines." I asked, "What guidelines? I've lived here 15 years. We've grilled every 4th of July, every Labor Day, every Sunday game." She replied, "Rules change. It's all about maintaining neighborhood aesthetics. Smoke, odors, unsightly appliances. We've had complaints." Complaints? The only complaint I ever heard was my neighbor asking why I hadn't invited him over sooner. That's when I dug deeper. I read the so-called rulebook cover to cover. And let me tell you, what I found was a mess of contradictions. Section 12B said grills visible from the street were banned, but Section 7D allowed temporary cooking devices during family gatherings. Family gatherings. If burgers and grandkids don't count, then what does? I brought this up at the next HOA meeting. I stood tall with that violation notice in hand, and I said, "You're overstepping. This is my backyard, my grill, my freedom." The room got quiet. A few neighbors nodded in agreement, but Karen slammed her gavel like she was Judge Judy. The fine stands. That night, I sat on the porch, thinking. The smell of charcoal still clung to the air. I thought about my father teaching me to grill when I was a kid, about how food brings families together, and I thought, if I give in, what's next? Will they ban my porch light because it's too bright? My Christmas decorations, my grandkids' laughter. So I made a choice. I wasn't paying that fine. And when the next weekend came, I fired up that grill again. This time, I invited half the block. We had burgers, ribs, corn on the cob, music playing, kids running through sprinklers. It was a slice of real Americana, and folks loved it. Until the HOA showed up, 3 of them, clipboards in hand, looking like they were about to raid a speakeasy. "Mr. Johnson," one said, "you are now accruing daily penalties for noncompliance." I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You'll have to pry this spatula from my cold, dead hands." The crowd cheered, my neighbors clapped, and I realized something powerful. I wasn't fighting alone anymore. The battle lines were drawn. For weeks, it was war. The HOA sent letters threatening liens, foreclosure, even legal action. I responded with petitions, signed by dozens of neighbors who believed the grill ban was ridiculous. But the more they pushed, the more stubborn I became. My yard turned into the neighborhood hub. Every Saturday we grilled, every Saturday. More people came. It wasn't just about food anymore, it was about principle, about saying no to petty control. Then came the showdown. The HOA called an emergency board meeting. I walked in with my petition, 102 signatures strong. Karen glared at me like a cat ready to pounce. She started her speech about order and rules. But before she could finish, I stood and said, "Order, you call it order, I call it control. You can fine me, threaten me, even drag me to court. But you will not take away my right to grill on my own property. This isn't just about me, it's about all of us. We pay our dues, we maintain our homes. We deserve the freedom to live. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then one by one, neighbors stood up. I support him, me too. This rule is ridiculous. Even board members shifted uncomfortably. Corinne's face went red. She tried to shout over the crowd, but the momentum had shifted. In the end, the board voted, the grill ban, overturned the fines, canceled. When I walked out of that meeting, my neighbors clapped me on the back. One old veteran said, "You just fought the good fight, son, and you won." That night, I lit the grill again. Flames rose, meat sizzled, laughter echoed. I looked around at friends, family, neighbors, all united by something so simple, yet so powerful. And I thought to myself, sometimes freedom isn't a grand speech in Washington. Sometimes it's a burger flipping on a backyard grill. So I'll leave you with this question. If your HOA tried to take away something so basic, something that brings joy to your life, would you stand up and fight? Or would you let them control you, one rule at a time? Because me, I'll be grilling until the day I can't hold a spatula. And no HOA will ever change that.